Hello. I don't know if you heard about the riffraff going on with Ben Carson after a statement this weekend. He said that he does not advocate for a Muslim president or a Muslim to be president in the United States. Now, CAIR, the Center for American Islamic Relations, they took issue with this, as they do whenever you say anything negative about Muslims, because Muslims, of course, the small percentage does not represent the entire whole. No doubt about it. However, if you listen to what he says, Ben Carson says he does not advocate for a Muslim to be president of the United States. They can hold other offices. He doesn't say cannot. He doesn't say not allowed to. He says that he would not advocate for a Muslim to be president of the United States. That's all he said. Okay. Now, one thing I'd like to fill you in on, if you don't know this, is that Islam is not just a religion. Okay? Islam, like I say, it's a total solution. What does that mean? Islam is a political ideology that includes a religion. It's not just a religion. When they say that Islam is a total solution, it encompasses the entire life. Every part of your life can be solved with the Quran. Okay? So religion is just a part of it. It's not how Westerners think of a religion, where we have government and then we have our own personal religion. No. Islam is total solution. It's a political ideology that includes a religion. Okay? That is why it is so important what he said. Okay? A president that would be Muslim would have their political beliefs influenced by the political beliefs and the legal beliefs of Islam. Sure, you heard of Sharia law. Now, listen to what Ben Carson says very carefully.
Do you believe that Islam is consistent with the Constitution?
No, I don't. I do not. I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation. I absolutely would not agree with that.
And would you ever consider voting for a Muslim for Congress?
Congress is a different story, but it depends on who that Muslim is and what their policies are.
Okay, remember, he said he doesn't advocate a Muslim for president. When asked about Congress, he says, sure, we have a representative democracy, and it would only be fair that in the House of Representatives, we have a little review for you, 2 senators per state, and we have the House of Representatives based on population. 435 voting members, and I think 6 non-voting members, so 435 voting members based on population. So if there is an area with a Muslim population in some state or city, it would only be fair that they have a voice in our government. It's only fair. That's our government. And he also says, depends on their policies if he's going to vote on them. Now, this is Carson's personal opinion. And he doesn't say a Muslim cannot be president. So you'll notice the guy coming up, he didn't even see the video. He says so. He got an email. And he was shocked. He's shocked, and he misrepresents what Carson says. And then he gets out, the Constitution to remind us all of what it says in the Constitution. So remember what Carson said. Now watch what the executive director of CAIR says.
When I saw the news, actually I did not see it on TV. I saw an email, and I thought the email could be like an old email stating something about, years ago someone made a statement. But to my shock, it was a current presidential candidate on national television stating that a Muslim cannot be a president of the United States.
Catch that misrepresentation? A Muslim cannot be president of the United States. That is not what Ben Carson said.
This was so shocking to us that we thought maybe we should tell the story of the Muslim community, but also we should remind a presidential candidate like Ben Carson about a very important document in the United States, and that is the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States, which clearly says that, and I have it here, no religious test shall be ever required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States, in pure English. This cannot be misunderstood. It cannot be twisted around. This is a very clear language to all Americans, to all generations, irrespective of who they are.
Okay, so despite the fact that he misquoted Carson, I can do that too, and I'll remind him of the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, prohibiting free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or the press, right? First Amendment, not Article 4. First, the most important, government doesn't even get involved in religion. Kind of the opposite of Islam. And freedom of speech. Carson can have an opinion. He can say that. And he can say that he doesn't advocate. And I like the way he says it's in pure, simple English, not to be twisted or misrepresented for anybody, exactly like he just did with Carson. It continues.
The protection of freedom of religion in America is a fundamental principle of our country. So whether you're Christian, you're Jewish, you're Muslim, you're Catholic, you're black, you're brown, you're white, if you are born in this country, if you uphold the Constitution, if you have the vision, if you fit to lead, you can lead irrespective of your faith tradition. Not long ago, some people thought that a Catholic cannot be a president. An African American cannot be a president. They were wrong then, and they are wrong now.
You notice how this guy can't help but give himself away. He's focused on religion and the protection of religion. And Muslims and Islam is a centerpiece of their lives. It rules their entire life. That's why I tell you it's an ideology. It's a political ideology that includes a religion. Okay? Understand that. Now, I like the way he grouped together life. I find it interesting how he grouped together Catholic, African American. Though Catholic and religion is a choice, African American is you're born that way. Okay? They're two different things in my mind. A person chooses to be a member of a group. Okay? A person doesn't choose who their parents are, where they were born, when they were born, none of that. He lumps them together. Notice that? To him, there is no choice. Your religion is your religion. See that? Gives himself away. I wonder if he would have said the same thing about atheists. If an atheist can be president, probably inconceivable to him. Okay? Anyway, let's see what else he says.
And that's why we say Mr. Ben Carson is wrong today to assume and say that American Muslim cannot be president of the United States. His views are inconsistent with the United States Constitution. For that, we really urge politicians, the general public, community leaders, presidential candidates to repudiate his views. And we ask Mr. Ben Carson to withdraw from the presidential race because he's unfit to lead, because his views are in contradiction with the United States Constitution. Thank you.
Of course, he's going to ask for something because that's the MO. Get offended, get shocked, and then we ask for something. Standard MO. He's asking for the repudiation of Ben Carson's views. You can't do that. First Amendment. He can have a view. Despite you saying, Mr. executive director, that he said a Muslim cannot, which is incorrect. He said cannot advocate for a president. He has a right to that view. And calling for the repudiation of his views is not how it goes here.
In anticipation of more attacks on Islam and the Muslim community.
All right, you've been listening to Niwad Awad. He's the executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations. He was saying that Ben Carson's comments that he would not advocate for a Muslim in the White House, they are inappropriate, and CAIR is calling on Ben Carson to drop out of the race.
Did you notice that? In anticipation of more attacks on Islam and the Muslim community. They're anticipating being attacked again. So he's already labeling this an attack. So a person simply saying that they do not advocate a Muslim being president is an attack on Islam. Professional victims. Okay. They go back to CNN, and the host correctly represents what Carson said. And now we come to my new personal hero, Ben Carson's business manager, Armstrong Williams. Now, what he says is a total straw man, okay? He goes off. But, it's true. Watch. My new hero.
Let's bring back Armstrong Williams, a close friend of Dr. Ben Carson, Carson's business manager. Armstrong, you heard the statement from CAIR right there. Let me ask you this. There's anywhere between 2 and 7 million Muslims in the United States right now. Maybe 2.7 million is one estimate I've seen. What would you say to those kids born in America who happen to be Muslim? Would you tell them that Dr. Ben Carson, and what happens when Ben Carson becomes president? Will he tell these Muslim kids that I don't think you should grow up to become president of the United States?
Where was CAIR after 9/11? When there was those images of those Muslim kids in the classroom rejoicing and cheering at the falling of those buildings and our men and women died. Where was CAIR? Where was CAIR when what happened at Fort Hood, when someone in the name of Islam killed our innocent men and women? Where was CAIR? Where is CAIR now with our journalists overseas who are being held by Iran and Daniel Pearl, who was beheaded? Did they have a press conference condemning those actions
Armstrong?
And that kind of behavior? Where were they?
Yeah!
Let's leave
Answer
CAIR
that
out of it then.
question for America.
If you don't want to listen to CAIR, leave CAIR out of it.
Let's leave CAIR out of it.
And let's talk about the other folks who have spoken up over the last day. I just want to know, again, the parameters and how far Dr. Carson's beliefs go on this. And I want to know, and I think it's important, because if he is in the White House, he sends a message to the entire country, young and old, men and women, Muslim, Christian, and Jew. Would he tell Muslim kids that he does not think they should grow up or could grow up to be president of the United States?
Okay, now that we've left CAIR out of it, after all the malarkey the guy talked, he appeals to the tenderness of children and their hopes and dreams of someday being president. This guy Armstrong goes off for a while. I was debating whether or not to leave it in, but I'm going to leave it in because the guy really says it right. So sit back and listen.
I know this is a very sensitive issue for many people. Dr. Carson is a person who has a very strong belief system that is inclusive of everyone. And you don't arrive at these positions where you say honestly that you don't want to see a Muslim as president of the United States. In no way would he want to hurt or offend or make any child believe that they could grow up and not become president of the United States. That's not who he is. And we understand that's a perception, more than a perception, that is reality for children, and it's not intended that way. But as I mentioned earlier, when you see those images after 9/11 with those young kids cheering in that classroom, it reflects their parents. What we need to do is talk about how we be more accountable in whatever we believe in. that the Muslim community, and many do it, some just don't do it enough, and talk about how the destructive tenets of Islam and Sharia law and how it disrespects women, have no regard for women, how it has no regard for many Muslims who flee from these different parts of the world that come here to find a better way of life. And while this is not easy and his heart would go out to these kids, still, because of how he feels in his heart about what it means when you're president of the United States, the kind of power and authority and how literally you can change the world, he has to come to the conclusion for what is best for America, and because of his love for America, that in his heart of hearts, he could never advocate for a Muslim becoming president of the United States. He just can't.
And so in the here and now, you said before we went to commercial break that he's not a politician, he's not putting his finger to the political winds to test the political winds. But we need to be clear exactly then on what Mr. Carson believes. You say his intent is not to offend, his intent is not to hurt, but he does believe that there is an entire religion that he does not think has should have equal rights in the United States.
Okay, I got a little bit sappy there with the heart of hearts and stuff. But what he was saying, that it's not lightly. It's not to offend. It's a fact. Okay? And this newscaster comes around and she rephrases something again. That Muslims don't deserve the same rights, an entire religion. That's what he's saying. It's incredible how people paraphrase and yet choose certain words, exaggerate all this. This guy puts it back. I'm telling you, he's my new hero.
You call it equal rights. You call it religion. It is not religion. It's what an individual believes. And what an individual believes impacts how America is governed and what we become as a nation. And while you may find that it's totally out of character for a presidential candidate to express these kind of feelings, what I don't think you realize is there are many Americans, if they search their hearts, they believe the same thing. They don't want to believe it, but when they look at the world and look at how Islam has become polluted and what is happening in Europe and in the Middle East and around the world, you have to take time to pause and ask, what is happening to the world? Would we want to see this in America where people use our freedoms and our rights and the fact that the freedoms of expression and our freedom of movement, and they use this against us? And so Dr. Carson does this not of dislike, not of disdain for someone, because he loves America so much. He feels that you have to protect America from those that would want to destroy it because of what they believe in.
But isn't that a vast generalization that you wouldn't... that because of a radical sect of a religion, you want to say not a single person of that faith, as John points out,
2.7 million, not
2.7 million people should be allowed to hold this office.
That is their choice. That is the beauty of freedom.
What's their choice?
Freedom to vote. It is their right not to vote for Dr. Carson. That is a small price he's willing to pay and for what he believes and what he will not advocate.
Well, you say it's their choice not to vote for Dr. Carson. That, of course, is a separate issue. What you were saying, what Dr. Carson is saying, that these people are not qualified based on their religious belief, based on how they pray to God, not to be in the White House. Do you think all 2.7 million Muslims in America advocate those views that Dr. Carson finds objectionable? Or is the mere adherence to any kind of Islam disqualifying?
Dr. Carson would not today, yesterday, or next week advocate having a Muslim in the White House as President of the United States. It is that simple. It is that clear. There's nothing else to discuss.
It's that simple. It's that clear. There's nothing else to discuss. Should have dropped his mic and walked out. My new hero. However they try to phrase it, because of their religion, because of the way they play, they're disqualified, an entire group, whatever. Dude, which part don't you understand? Muslim in the White House? No. Have a nice day.